Welcome to installment number 212 of the Mitzvahs as enumerated by Maimonides, the Rambam. We have been speaking about what happens to a person who contracted the biblical ailment called tzara'as, known as a Mitzvah. And as we've said, this is commonly mistranslated as leprosy. It is in fact a completely different ailment. It is a spiritual ailment that is caused by spiritual misdeed. Namely, usually lashon hara, when someone spoke badly about another person. Now, we've been speaking about what happens to a person who contracts this on their body. But as we've said, there are other ways of contracting this disease as well. One can contract it on their clothing, on their garments, as well as on their house. So today we have two mitzvahs, positive commandments number 102 as well as 103, that discuss these two possibilities. So positive commandment 102 discusses what happens if a person contracts tzara'as on their clothing. So what would happen was it would need to be about the size of a dime. They would need to find a spot that was either a very deep green color or very deep red color. They would summon the Kohen as they would with tzara'as on their body, and the Kohen would need to declare it tzara'as or not. If it was declared tzara'as, the garment needed to be set aside, put away for a week's time, and then re-examined. If it seemed to be clearing away, it was getting better, wonderful. It would get washed up, it was immersed in a mikvah, and it is pure, it is clean, it is fine. If, however, it seemed to have swapped colors, if it was green, it turned red, if it was red, it turned green, then it would be cut out. That part would be cut out. It would be patched up, it would be washed, it would be immersed in a mikvah, and then once again, it would be declared clean, or pure. But if, however, if it seemed to be getting worse, then it would be set aside for another week. If necessary, if need be, then the entire garment was burnt. The entire thing was burnt if it just seemed to be getting worse. Now, the next thing we have is positive commandment 103, which discusses the same, very similar process to if this happened to one's house. So if one were to spot a deep green color or a deep red color on a stone in their house, once again, they would summon the Kohen. The Kohen would declare whether or not this was tzara'as or not. If it was, the house was closed up for an entire week and then re-examined. If it was clearing away, it would get washed off and it was fine. If not, it would be another week, and then again it would be re-examined. And upon examination, if it was getting better, it was cleaned off and purified in the same way as we spoke about with the Mitzvah, with the two birds and that whole process. If it remained the same, it was closed off for another week, and those particular stones were removed, replaced with other ones, and we would see what would happen the following week. If, in fact, it was getting better at that point, then again, it would go through the two birds process and become purified. If not, that's when the entire house would be demolished. Now, we are taught that God afflicted this special affliction really its purpose was so that it should help us atone for our sins, contemplate on what we've done, and turn around and fix our mistakes. So first, God would afflict it on our house. Now, if, and would give a person enough time to think about it and rectify his wrongdoings. If that didn't work, then it would go on his clothing. And again, if that process didn't work, then ultimately it would end up on his skin. And then ultimately he would be sent away from the camps, the Jewish camps. And then it would really give him time to think about it properly and to really, really fix his ways. Now, we are told a very, very interesting story that what would happen is that, right, this sounds like a really awful thing, that a person's entire house would have to be demolished, and it just seems like so harsh. But we are taught something so interesting, that when the Jewish people were entering the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, the Canaanites that were there didn't want to take all of their luxuries, all their treasures with them. So they would actually hide them into the walls. And they planned that one day when they come back, they will have all of their treasures. Now, what happened was the Jewish people conquered the land, moved in, and they were living in these homes with veritable treasures in the walls, and they had no idea. So what would happen was, when a person contracted tzaras and his house had to be broken down, what seemed like something that was so awful actually turned out to be their greatest gift, because they would open up the walls and they would find these treasures inside it. And so often this is exactly the case in life, that often things happen to us and we say, God, why did you do this to me? Why did this terrible thing happen to me? And it seems like we're getting punished for something that we've done, when in fact, God is only preparing us for our greatest treasure that is yet to come. Have a wonderful day.